So guys, we are here taking our first look at the FW9 or 190, FW190, and it is a beauty. And one thing I was not expecting that I should have probably been expecting is how big of a payload this thing can carry. It has quite a lot of bombs on it there. Um, So let's take a look at what it is actually loaded with here, and what it could be loaded with at some point. Oh my goodness. Okay, so right now, nothing too special. We have two 50-kilogram bombs over here on this side, two 50-kilogram bombs on this side, and obviously two 50 in the middle as well. Now this middle slot can eventually be subbed out with larger and larger rounds. You eventually could take the 1,000-kilogram bomb, or you could take the 1,000-kilogram, like the armor piercing bomb, which I don't usually generally take those because they do less damage, and I don't usually face a lot of armored targets that are gonna need that kind of firepower. I mean, I'm not trying to fucking bomb Ukraine's. I'm not trying to bomb Iran's nuclear capabilities or anything here. It's just, this is just World War II planes. So, but if you take a look at this thing's cannons, it does have quite some cannons here. It has some 20 millimeter cannons, which is, if I don't have 20 millimeter cannons on my plane, what am I doing? I don't want the plane. That's kind of how I feel about it. But as backup cannons, it has the 13 millimeter guns, which is not something I see too often. A lot of times I'll see backup as 7 millimeter, or 12, sometimes 12, but this one has a 13. It's just a little bit bigger. And as you can see very quickly, we can switch it out for some highly explosive rounds, or wait, what is this? But one thing that I thought was really interesting, obviously you can put some missiles on here once you get to level 9, which that'll be fun to do. I might end up just upgrading that thing right away, but before we could do that, I noticed that you can put 30 millimeter cannons on this thing at level 2 instead of your 2 bombs, which I've never been able to say no to big guns. I've bought a lot of dumb planes because they had big guns on them. And so we're just going to have to go ahead and purchase that. There is no way you're telling me I can put a 30 millimeter cannon on there, and I'm not going to do that right a frickin' way. Especially at level 2. Yeah, let me purchase that. Hell yeah. Okay. Look at that, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me pull out... Let me see if we can... What kind of rounds do these shoot? Highly explosive incendiary tracers, incendiary shells, and armor-piercing incendiary. That is great, and eventually they will be highly... What is that? So the HV armor-piercing. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm sure it's good. Or you could just go with the regular heat shells, I call them, the highly explosive incendiary. But with a 30 mil cannon, that thing is bringing some frickin' heat. I gotta test this shit out, because if this does what I think it's gonna do, if it's gonna rip through planes the way I am imagining it's going to, I'm gonna use this plane quite a bit. So we are probably at the perfect place to test out this plane. I am going to take the do first, just because I want to take out some of the more aggressive opponents first. That way That way I'm not fighting as strong of opponents when I bring out my favorite plane. So the Yak 9s, yeah, we're going to see if we can do some hurting on these Yak 9s. Man, this thing is too fast. I'm just getting there ahead of everybody else. Not exactly, but kind of. Gotta drop our armaments. Okay. Shut down a few opponents before we got shot down there. Which we went down really quick. I'm interested to see what it was that took me out. It was a Yak 9. Of course it was. Oh, he did a head-on head with his bro there, so it looks like I have 70 rounds of 30 mil. You know what, I am going to see if I can get in on this Yak 9 here. He may or may not be the one that took me out, but, you know, I cannot let that stand. Okay. Shoot, I flew right past him. Okay, well. Here we go. Okay, come on. There we go. Now this one. He lost his wing. guy's trying to take me for a death spin. Alrighty, here we go. I know I have someone on me, but I have issues with target asphyxiation. Okay, I don't know what I was doing right there, but obviously this thing has a lot of firepower. It doesn't have quite as much of the maneuverability as I would like to see. And there's some other ways in which I would just say it controls slightly weirdly, but man, it did have some firepower. It did have the ability to put down those rounds. Alrighty. Well, that is the game. I honestly love the performance. There was a little bit of like the mechanics felt a little wonky in a few ways, but man, that thing has some firepower. And if you can land those targets, if you can land those 30 mil, they will fucking tear up that plane. So, yeah. So, I am loving it, but I will see you guys next time.